Have you ever, felt like you're just swimming in information, especially when you're looking at ancient texts, trying to pull out something, well, useful, practical?
Oh, absolutely. It can feel like wading through a jungle sometimes, looking for that clear path.
Exactly. So today on the deep dive, we're going to try and cut through some of that. We're diving into some really fascinating Buddhist texts.
Right, specifically from the Aṭṭhakanipāta, we've got bits from Samanyavago, Gautamivago, Kapalavago, and others.
And we're zeroing in on something specific, almost like a pattern, this recurring theme of things grouped in, well, eights. Eightfold principles, qualities, even big events.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable how these texts manage to condense so much wisdom into these lists of eight. It covers everything, really.
From spiritual stuff to daily life.
Totally. Liberation, how to act ethically day to day, even explanations for things like, well, earthquakes, believe it or not. Each eight is like a little nugget of distilled insight.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So this deep dive is all about unpacking these eights, hopefully finding some surprising bits and, practical things you can actually use today. Let's get into it. Where do we start?
Well, I think the foundation has to be personal cultivation, getting your own mind sorted, basically.
Right, like the basics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's the concept of the eight qualities for the full comprehension of greed. And it's not just greed. The texts apply this to getting a handle on hatred, delusion, anger, envy, all those kinds of defilements.
And the core of that is the Eightfold Path, isn't it? That's probably the most famous eight.
Absolutely. Right view, right intention, right speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration.
But it's more than just a list, right? The source is
Yeah.
presented as a system.
Precisely. It's about cultivating all of them together.
Yeah.
That's what helps you really understand and eventually let go of those negative states. It's like rewiring things.
Okay, so that's the foundation. Where do the texts go from there? Deeper, I imagine.
Much deeper. We get into things like the eight spheres of mastery, the abhipayatana.
Spheres of mastery, what does that mean exactly?
Think of it like gaining really fine-tuned control over your perception. You train your mind to see things, forms, colors, internal images, without getting hooked by liking or disliking them.
So you see blue and you just see blue,
Yeah.
without the usual mental baggage.
Exactly. You're mastering your sensory experience, not just reacting to it. It's a path to liberation from those ingrained mental habits.
Okay, and then even further.
Yep. Then come the eight liberations, the vimokas. This is a progressive series of stages, untangling the mind from, well, all experience, step by step.
How does that work?
It starts with physical forms, then moves beyond them into formless realms like infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness.
Wow.
All the way to a state called neither perception nor non-perception, and finally, the total cessation of perception and feeling. It's about profound release.
That sounds incredibly advanced, but surely it's not all about reaching those peak states. Is there something more fundamental?
Oh, definitely. The texts constantly bring it back to mindfulness and clear comprehension, sati-sampajanya. This is vital for any progress, spiritual or otherwise.
Right. And there's that analogy, isn't there? The tree.
That's the one. Without mindfulness and clear comprehension, it's like the tree can't grow. You get this cascade of negatives, no sense of shame, no restraint, poor morality, no concentration, and so on.
But with it.
With it, the tree flourishes. All those positive qualities develop naturally. It really is shown as the essential root.
Okay, so that's crucial. Now, you mentioned practical daily stuff, too.
Yes, a very direct one. Mindfulness of death, Marankasati, comes up in a couple of suttas.
Mindfulness of death. Sounds a bit grim.
It's intense, for sure, but practical. Yeah. One sutta has monks discussing how often they practice it, some daily, some half-daily, some just during a meal.
And some even more frequently.
Right, like with every single breath or every mouthful of food. And the Buddha really praises those intense forms, calls them heedful and sharp, essential for ending defilements, he says.
Contrasting with heedless or slow approaches.
Exactly. Then another sutta gets even more practical. It tells you to reflect on how you could die right now.
Like specific ways.
Yeah. Snake bite,
Yeah.
falling, getting sick, being attacked, immediate dangers.
Okay. And the point isn't just to be morbid.
No. No, the crucial step is then checking yourself. Are there any unwholesome things I haven't dealt with? Things that would be a problem if I died right now.
Ah, so it creates urgency.
Massive urgency. The text compares it to putting out your hair or clothes if they were on fire. It's about immediate self-reflection and effort.
That is direct. And, it makes you wonder, how does this ancient wisdom translate for people not living that monastic life? For just, well, regular everyday living?
It translates surprisingly well. There's a fantastic set of 8 accomplishments, the Sempadai, taught to lay followers, specifically folks named Vyogapaja and Uchaya.
Okay, accomplishments for lay people, what are they?
They're split into 2 groups of 4. The first 4 are for present welfare and happiness.
Tira Bamira. Present happiness. Okay, what's first?
1. Accomplishment in diligence. Being skilled and energetic in your job, whatever it is, farming, trade, even royal service or art, taking care in your work.
Makes sense. 2.
Accomplishment in protection. Guarding the wealth you've earned fairly,
Mm-hmm.
protecting it from, kings, thieves, fire, floods, or even relatives who might squander it. Being responsible.
Good advice. 3.
Good friendship. Kalyamitaka. Actively seeking out and learning from good people, people with faith, virtue, generosity, wisdom. Building a positive social circle.
That sounds crucial. And the 4th, for present welfare.
Balanced livelihood. Samajjavikata. Knowing your income and expenses, living moderately, not throwing money away like a fig eater, but not being miserly like a beggar either.
Finding that balance, like the scale bearer analogy they use.
Exactly. Making sure your income covers, or ideally exceeds, your spending. Really practical financial sense.
Okay, so those 4 are for right now. What about the other 4?
Those are the 4 accomplishments for future welfare and happiness. Samparayahita. More focused on inner qualities.
All right, number 5.
Accomplishment in faith. Sada Sampada. Having confident trust in the Buddhist teachings.
6.
Accomplishment in virtue. Sila Sampada. Basic ethics. Not killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, lying, or taking intoxicants.
The core precepts. 7.
Accomplishment in generosity. Kaga Sampada. Being open-handed, not stingy. Finding joy in giving.
And the final one, number 8.
Accomplishment in wisdom. Panya Sampada. Developing the kind of insight that leads ultimately to the end of suffering.
Wow. That's a really comprehensive blueprint, isn't it? Covering work, finances, relationships, ethics, inner growth, all in 8 points. You can see how that applies today.
Absolutely. It's about building a resilient, ethical, and meaningful life.
And I guess if those are the accomplishments, there must be things that undermine them.
Definitely. The texts spell out 4 gates to ruin for wealth, things that destroy your well-being.
What are they?
Womanizing, drinking alcohol, gambling, and having evil friends. Pretty straightforward warnings.
And the opposites are the gates to prosperity.
Exactly. Abstaining from those and cultivating good friendships. They use that great analogy of a pond with inlets and outlets.
Right. Open the wrong ones, close the right ones, and the pond dries up. Simple but effective imagery.
Very. It shows how your choices directly impact whether your pond, your well-being flourishes or diminishes.
And speaking of choices and behavior, they also touch on speech, don't they?
Uh-huh. The 8 noble and ignoble modes of speech. It's fundamentally about truthfulness.
So noble speech is
Saying you saw what you saw, heard what you heard, sensed what you sensed, knew what you knew, and not claiming experiences you didn't have or denying ones you did.
just basic honesty, really, but powerful when you think about the impact of words.
Yeah, immensely powerful. And then there's a really concise teaching given to Mahapajapati Gautami, the Buddha's aunt. It's like a quick test for authentic spiritual practice.
Okay, what's the test?
The Buddha said, basically, any teaching that leads you towards more attachment, wanting more stuff, discontent, socializing too much, laziness, or being hard to support, that's not the real Dhamma.
And the true Dhamma leads.
Towards the opposite. Dispassion, fewer defilements, contentment, solitude, energy, being easy to support.
Yeah.
It's a clear guidepost. If a practice increases your unwholesome tendencies, it's not the right path, according to this teaching.
That's a sharp distinction. Okay, so we've looked at the individual lay life. What about the dynamics within the monastic community itself? How are these 8s used there?
They provide structure there, too. For instance, defining the ideal monk. The 8 qualities of a completely admirable and all-perfect monk.
An all-perfect monk, what does that involve?
It's a progressive list. Starts with the basics. Faith, then morality, then being learned in the teachings, becoming a good Dhamma speaker.
Someone who can explain things well.
Exactly. And not just explain, but be comfortable in assemblies, speak confidently. Then it moves into deeper practice. Mastery of meditation states, like the jhanas.
And the final step.
Ultimate liberation. The complete end of all defilements. You see how each step builds on the last. It's a path.
Yeah, a clear progression. And what about leadership roles, like monks teaching nuns?
There's an 8 for that, too. The 8 qualities of a monk fit to instruct nuns. It really outlines what makes an effective spiritual guide.
What kind of qualities?
Impeccable ethics, deep knowledge of Dhamma and the monastic rules, really good communication skills, being able to inspire and encourage.
So knowledge and people skills.
Absolutely. Plus, being liked by the nuns, having a clean record, no past offenses, and having enough seniority. It paints a picture of a truly wise, skilled, and compassionate teacher.
That makes sense. And the texts also categorize people on the path itself?
Yes, the 8 types of individuals worthy of offerings. This includes the 4 main stages of enlightenment: stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, arahant, plus those who are actively practicing towards each of those stages.
So it gives a kind of map of spiritual development.
Exactly, a framework for understanding where people are on their journey.
Now, what about the struggles? Does it talk about, when things don't go well?
Oh, very much so. It's quite relatable. There are the 8 conditions for a learner monk's decline. Things that cause backsliding.
Like what? I bet some sound familiar.
Probably. Things like getting too caught up in activity, talking too much, sleeping too much socializing, not guarding your senses, eating immoderately, hanging out with the wrong crowd too much, and just mental chatter. Letting your mind run wild.
Okay, yeah. Several of those ring a bell, even outside a monastery.
Right. And then, naturally, you have the 8 conditions for non-decline, basically, doing the opposite of all those things. Clear guidelines for staying on track.
And laziness, that must come up.
Definitely. The 8 bases for laziness. These are essentially all the excuses we make for not putting in the effort.
Uh-oh. Like what?
Things like, oh, I've got work to do later, I'll be tired, so I should rest now. Or, I just finished some work, I am tired, so I need to rest. Or even, I'm about to go on a journey, that'll be tiring.
So basically, any excuse before, during, or after an activity.
Pretty much. Or using physical states. I've eaten too much, I feel heavy. Or, I haven't eaten enough, I feel weak. It covers all the bases for procrastination.
That's brilliant. And I assume there's a counter list.
Yes. 8 bases for energy or exertion. These flip the excuses into reasons to strive.
How so?
Like, I've got work to do, but while I do it, it won't be easy to focus on the teachings, so I should strive now. Or, I haven't eaten much, my body feels light and ready, I can strive now. Or even, I'm a bit sick, but what if it gets worse? I should strive while I still can.
It's about reframing the situation to find motivation.
Exactly. Taking proactive responsibility for your effort, regardless of circumstances.
That's incredibly relevant. I mean, forget monks for a second. Think about personal goals, productivity.
Well,
How often do we use those exact excuses, and how could we flip them? Really useful stuff.
it really is. And there's another set about how monks react to material things like receiving offerings or not receiving them. The 8 types of monks regarding gain.
How does that break down?
Well, some monks, if they don't get offerings, become sad or resentful. The text says they get cut off from the true Dhamma.
Okay.
Others, if they do get lots of offerings, might become arrogant or complacent. They also get cut off.
Ah, so it's not just about getting or not getting.
Right. The ideal is the monk who doesn't get sorrowful when they lack things and doesn't get intoxicated or careless when they have abundance. They remain steady, not cut off, regardless of the external situation. It's about inner equanimity.
Maintaining balance amidst changing fortunes. That's a deep lesson.
Very deep.
And the texts also get into the nitty-gritty of community rules and discipline, using 8s there too.
Yes, quite specific rules. For example, 8 conditions for the Sangha to overturn the bowl regarding a lay follower.
Overturn the bull. What does that mean?
It's basically a formal boycott. If a lay follower does things like actively trying to harm the monks or speaks badly about the Buddha, the Dhamma, or the Sangha, the community might refuse to accept offerings from them.
Serious stuff, but reversible.
Yes, there are also 8 conditions to restore the relationship if the person genuinely changes their ways. It's a system of accountability.
And does it go the other way? Lay people expressing views about monks.
It does. 8 conditions for lay followers to express disapproval of a monk. Maybe seeing them in unsuitable places, or again, acting harmfully towards lay people. And conversely, 8 conditions for approval. It allows for feedback.
Interesting. Any other community rules framed this way?
There are rules for internal monastic discipline, too. 8 conditions for initiating a reconciliation act against a monk, maybe for breaking a promise to lay followers, and 8 for recalling that act,
Okay.
and even 8 specific rules for a monk undergoing a particular formal punishment, the Tasapapiyasaka Act, which limits their monastic rights for a time. It shows a really structured approach to maintaining community standards and resolving issues.
It certainly sounds thorough. Now, let's shift gears a bit. We've touched on some profound events, but there are some really major moments framed by 8 as well, right?
Absolutely. Some pivotal points in Buddhist history. A huge one is the story of the ordination of women, found in the Gautami Sutta.
Ah, yes, Mahapajapati Gautami, the Buddha's aunt. She wanted women to be able to ordain as nuns.
That's right, and she asked the Buddha 3 times, very persistently, but he refused each time.
So what changed his mind?
It was Ananda, his close attendant. He intervened, quite empathetically, and asked the crucial question. Lord, are women capable of attaining liberation, reaching the stages of enlightenment?
And the Buddha's answer?
Was yes. He affirmed that women were indeed capable of realizing the fruits of the path, just like men.
So ordination was allowed, but there were conditions.
Yes. This is where another famous 8 comes in.
Yeah.
The 8 Garudhammas, often translated as heavy rules or weighty rules, which were laid down as conditions for the Bhikkhuni Sangha, the order of nuns.
What kind of rules were they?
They established a relationship of seniority for the nuns relative to the monks. For instance, a nun ordained even for 100 years had to bow to a monk ordained even for a day. Other rules involved where nuns could spend the rains retreat, needing instruction from monks twice a month, specific procedures for penance.
And rules about speech.
Right. Nuns weren't permitted to admonish or criticize monks, whereas monks could admonish nuns.
Now, the texts give a reason for these rules, don't they? It's quite controversial.
Yes, and it's important we just report what the source material says here without taking sides. The reason stated in the text is the Buddha's prediction that allowing women to ordain would shorten the lifespan of the pure Dhamma.
The 1,000 years versus 500 years prediction.
That's the one. He used analogies like a household with many women and few men being vulnerable, or a crop succumbing to blight. The Garudhammas, in this context, were presented as being like building a dike or an embankment, a necessary measure, according to the text, to protect the Dharma for longer.
It's definitely a complex and much discussed part of the tradition, a pivotal moment framed by those 8 rules.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving from that historical moment, you mentioned earthquakes earlier. That seems like a totally different kind of 8.
It is. This comes from the Earthquake Sutta, the Bhumikala Sutta. It's a dramatic scene set in Vesali.
What happens?
The Buddha subtly hints to Ananda that a fully enlightened one could, if asked, extend their lifespan for an entire eon. But Ananda, perhaps distracted, fails to pick up on the hint and doesn't make the request.
A missed
A
opportunity.
huge one. Soon after, Mara the tempter figure appears. He urges the Buddha to pass away into final nibbana, arguing that the mission is complete, the Dhamma is well established, the community of monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen is flourishing.
And the Buddha agrees.
He does. He makes the conscious decision to relinquish his life principle, his will to keep the body going. And the moment he does this,
The earth's shake.
massive earthquake,
Right.
described as great, terrible, hair-raising, accompanied by thunder.
Wow. And the Buddha explains why this happened.
Yes. He later tells Ananda the 8 causes of great earthquakes.
Okay, what are they? Is it just geology?
Well, the first one is physical great winds disturbing the element of water, which supports the earth element. The kind of natural explanation.
But the others?
They're spiritual or related to the Buddha's life. Cause 2 is the psychic power of a highly developed ascetic or a powerful deity intentionally shaking the earth.
Okay.
And then causes 3 through 8 are all key moments in a Buddha's journey. When a bodhisattva consciously enters in the mother's womb,
Earthquake.
when a bodhisattva emerges from the womb,
Earthquake.
when a Tathagata attains supreme, perfect enlightenment,
Earthquake.
when a Tathagata sets the incomparable wheel of Dhamma in motion,
Earthquake.
when a Tathagata consciously renounces his life principle, as just happened in the story.
Big earthquake.
And finally, when a Tathagata passes away into the Nibbana element with no residue remaining.
Another earthquake. It's like the earth itself is registering these monumental spiritual events.
Exactly. It connects the deepest spiritual moments to the physical fabric of the world in a really profound way.
That's incredible. And this idea of the Buddha's mastery, there's another 8 related to that, assemblies.
Yes, briefly mentioned as the 8 assemblies the Buddha could enter. These included various assemblies of humans, nobles, priests, householders, ascetics, and different classes of gods.
And what was special about him entering them?
He could enter any of these assemblies and completely blend in, matching their appearance and their voice. He'd teach them the Dhamma, inspire them, and then vanished before they even realized who he was. It showed his complete mastery over different realms and forms of communication.
Just amazing control and adaptability.
Truly. And perhaps a good way to round off our look at the Buddha himself is with the 8 epithets for the Tathagata. These are like 8 key titles or descriptions that capture his essence.
Okay, what are they?
He's called Samana, an ascetic; Brahmana, a pure or holy one; Bhikkhu, the physician or healer; Vedagu, a master of wisdom or sacred knowledge; Nimalu, the spotless one; Vimalu, the unstained or unsullied one; Etching, the knower, one possessing deep knowledge; and Vimutuk, the liberated one.
Samana, Brahmana, Bhikkhu, Vedagu, Nimalu, Vimalu, Diten, Vimuchu. That's quite a summary of enlightened qualities.
It really encapsulates his journey and achievement. The ascetic path, the resulting purity, the ability to heal suffering, the mastery of knowledge, the utter stainlessness, the deep knowing, and the final, complete freedom.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From personal ethics and meditation,
For practical advice for work and finances, community rules, dealing with laziness,
all the way to the ordination of women, the causes of earthquakes, and the fundamental nature of the Buddha himself. And this thread of 8 runs through all of it.
it really does. It's striking how these ancient texts use this structure, this number 8, to organize and convey such a vast range of wisdom. It provided clarity, a framework for understanding.
It shows how ancient insights can be surprisingly structured, really practical, and still offer guidance for living well, both as individuals and together in communities.
Absolutely. And maybe seeing them grouped this way helps the ideas stick,
Yeah.
makes them more accessible. It's worth thinking about which of these 8s really stood out to you personally.
Yeah, which ones resonated? Which ones felt particularly relevant to your own life or challenges?
Mhm.
And maybe that leads to a final thought. If these ancient teachers found so much power in distilling complex reality into these octaves of wisdom, these sets of 8, what 8s might you identify in your own life? What principles or areas could you group into 8 to bring more clarity, focus, and purpose to where you are now and where you want to go?